Ilian truly understood what it meant for all the blood in one's body to freeze. His entire body trembled uncontrollably. He felt as if his body temperature had dropped by at least 5 degrees in an instant. "What kind of nonsense did you just say?" Ilian swallowed hard. His mouth was completely dry, but this was no time to worry about that. This was a time to desperately try to collect the water he had already spilled. I misspoke. Please, forget what I said. The Crown Prince's first wife has absolutely nothing to do with His Majesty's illness. I'm still confused, that's why I rushed out and said what I saw. Really? Ilian desperately pointed to the picture of Glenna screaming. But despite his plea, the second prince did not move an inch. He just stared at him calmly. An unexpected harvest. As soon as the second prince spoke, a shadowy figure appeared beside him. Seeing the black pool-like darkness forming, a faint flash of hope flashed on Ilian's face. Could it be Glenna? If this was the intelligent Glenna, she would have sensed that something was wrong with the second prince's actions and taken immediate action. But contrary to his hope, the shadow rose and took the form of a man. Who are you? When the shadow turned into a man wearing a dark cloak, Ilian's mouth opened. I asked who you are. Even though Ilian shouted loudly, no servant entered from outside. The second prince seemed to have made prior arrangements. From under the pressed robe, 2 thick lips became visible. The beautifully shaped mouth curved into a mocking smile, and when the cloak was thrown back, the man's face appeared. He was a strange person that Ilian had never seen before. What's the point of knowing who I am? It's better for your mental health not to know. At the man's not-so-subtle sarcasm, Ilian's face flushed with insult. He pulled the bell rope sharply. He pulled hard, but the outside remained silent. Ilian quickly turned pale and screamed. Your Highness! How can you allow an unidentified stranger to enter the house without the owner's permission? Even you, Your Highness, this violates good manners. This is not the time to discuss literature. The second prince interrupted his protest and addressed the shadowed man. Is the investigation completed? Yes, that's why I'm here. The man answered and pulled out some documents from inside his cloak, and handed them over. Ilian instinctively felt a wave of dread. Whatever was in that document, he knew it would be profoundly unfavorable to him. But he could not guess what exactly it contained. There were so many things weighing on his mind. The emperor's sudden illness? Numerous market manipulation acts? The plot to harm the second prince? Or perhaps increased tax revenue from the Cornish estate? Everything seemed threatening. Ilian watched with concern as he saw the second prince browsing through the documents. When the prince finally raised his head from the papers, Ilian trembled. Unfortunate, Ilian. What do you mean? Ilian stammered at the prince's terse conclusion. Instead of replying, the second prince tapped the document lightly with his finger. You did something heinous. Did the title of first crown prince's father-in-law give you such reckless audacity? No, even with relations like these, this level of crime would not be easily turned a blind eye to. What were you thinking? I don't know what you're talking about. All the corruption and illegal acts I have committed so far are detailed here. Shall I read them to you? Even staying up all night won't be enough. This is slander. Please, don't believe it. The Intelligence Department and the Imperial Audit Office have conducted a comprehensive investigation. There is nothing more credible. The man standing next to the second prince nodded slightly to confirm the statement. Ilian, with a bloodless face, looked at the man. He appeared to be the elusive head of the intelligence service. If you continue to deny, we can gather more evidence, Lord Ilian. But that will only make things worse for you. Just stay calm. The man smiled widely and looked at the second prince, who exchanged an understanding look with him before issuing the order. This is enough evidence. Go and do the next step. Shall I stay and help? Do you think I can't handle Ilian on my own? The second prince smiled coldly and looked at Ilian. His gaze pierced like a sharp needle. Then I will leave. The man nodded to the second prince and looked at Ilian. The moment their eyes met, the man disappeared like a blown-out candle. What did I just see? Ilian stared blankly into the air where the man had been standing. Then, a cold voice rang in his ear. Well then, do you still have something to reply about these materials? Your Highness, that is not true. You have been misled. Ilian jumped out of bed in panic. Even as he kneeled, the second prince remained cold. Like a thunderbolt, the verdict was issued. From today, the Corny trade will cease operations. The Corny family's assets will be confiscated. Ilian Corny, report to the Imperial Audit Office within this week. Your Highness. Ilian shouted, turning pale. Grabbing the prince's trouser leg, he pleaded desperately. You have always cared about our family. Please, reconsider. For the sake of the first crown prince's wife, at least. Oh, I almost forgot. The second prince, who was listening with an expressionless face, blinked slowly. A frighteningly beautiful smile appeared on his face. You told me to ask the crown prince's first wife about His Majesty's illness, right? That was just a slip of the tongue while I was still confused. No, you're not the type to make missteps. Especially in serious matters like the safety of the royal family. The second prince dropped his raised smile and spoke seriously. Therefore, the crown prince's first wife will also be subject to investigation. You can't do this. Ignoring his pleas, Ilian's eyes widened in despair. Staring with reddened eyes, he shouted. Your Highness, you have no authority to investigate Glenna. How dare you investigate the princess without clear evidence? Are you so desperate for the crown prince seat and the throne that you will carry out a political purge? Disinfection? The second prince let out a hollow laugh and shook Ilian's hand off his pants. Looking at the trembling Ilian, he spoke in a voice full of dignity. Should I add the crime of insulting the prince as well? Your Highness. There are sufficient reasons to investigate both the first crown prince and his wife. They conspired with you and disturbed the empire's economy. This, moreover, you yourself just said to ask the crown prince's first wife about the emperor's illness. This is the only reason I am moving forward on it. Don't try to twist the meaning. The crown prince's first wife is innocent. How can you treat the Corny family like this? Ilian shouted angrily. He believed in Glenna and the importance of the Corny family. The Corny family had risen and fallen with the empire over generations. No matter how the second prince acted, he wouldn't last long. I will appeal to Her Majesty the Empress. The just and fair Empress will not stand idly by and watch this cruel persecution. Or, you might become completely disillusioned with the Cornish family. Especially after seeing this document and the evidence. The second prince waved the papers carelessly. As Ilian's eyes followed the document, the prince let it fly to the ground. Ilian scrambled to catch the flying leaves. He started reading like crazy. As his eyes moved down the pages, all hope vanished from his face and was replaced by despair. How did you get all this? The document contained every corrupt scheme and wrongdoing committed by Ilian. From tax issues on the Corny estate, to illicit profits from market manipulation, to detailed records of political funds provided to Crichton. There was even a list of assassins he had hired over the years to target the second prince. The second prince was right. If the Empress saw this, she would likely order the complete elimination of the Corny family. This cannot be revealed to the world. If that happened, the Corny family was finished. Trembling, Ilian began tearing the document into shreds. Upon the pathetic attempt to destroy the evidence, the second prince showed no reaction. Just watch as he enjoys the show. This action of yours now only proves that the contents are all true. At the prince's words, bloodshot veins appeared in Ilian's eyes. He tore the leaves into smaller and smaller pieces. Then, in a desperate attempt to destroy the evidence, he shoved the torn pieces into his mouth. "Oh, my God." The second prince clicked his tongue pityingly. "You don't really think this is the original, do you?" Ilian, with his mouth full of paper, looked at the second prince in shock. The prince was still staring at him with an unreadable expression. When his eyes met those of the second prince, Ilian's legs gave out on him and he collapsed to the ground. For a brief moment, the second prince's face overlapped with that of the emperor, a solemn face that had once announced Glenna's exile from the imperial family. Speechless, Ilian stared blankly at the second prince. The prince narrowed his eyes, and a voice as cold as frost followed. "From today, the Corney family is over. Your Highness." Upon announcing the second prince, Ilian completely lost his composure. As the eldest son of the prestigious Corney family, Ilian had never experienced hardship. The worst of his life was the loss of his young wife, but even that was a political marriage, lacking in love, so it was not deeply painful. Other than that, his life had been smooth. With a daughter and son-in-law who turned his ambitions into reality, he was confident that his later years would be filled with happiness. He believed that he would die with honor, as the greatest duke in the history of Corney and as the father of the empress. And yet, master. Shocking news. Dafa has collapsed. Once the fall started, there was no end.